The dark forest was cold and silent, all the trees appearing less organic and more as ominous dark monuments. There was a girl huddled up next to one of these dead trees, hugging her arms close to herself to stave off the cold, crisp air as best she could. Alessandra was already regretting being out there, or even agreeing to do it, knowing what she was getting herself into. She had gotten a text message from a childhood friend that they wanted to meet up with her at the infamous gaping gulch of her city. Her and her friend had stopped talking to one another for several months since high school, but if she were being honest, she would have rather cut all ties with the person indefinitely. She knew this person was a danger to anyone's health, and if anyone got too close to them, it was going to be too late to escape once you noticed their clutches on you, which was the whole reason she even agreed to be out there in the first place. She could never escape. The whole time she was away from them, though she felt good, she didn't want to risk angering them with her refusal. She hated that she couldn't stand up for herself, but she was far too used to feeling this way, because the same could be said for how she feels at all times with her family. She knew she was forever trapped with them. There was really no viable means of escape at all, and she was constantly reminded of it each time she so much as even looked at the city outside her dusty window. She hated it so much. She hated her family so much for all that they did to her throughout her life. She hated that she found friends and family in online forums with complete strangers, but hated herself most of all for not being able to be strong enough to just leave that damned place. This damned city and all the revolting occupants. And yet, she still always returned to that same broken home like a jaded and beaten puppy. God, how she wished she could just go back to school. She didn't have a lot of friends there, and a lot of the teachers weren't very helpful either, but it felt an almost paradise for her when compared to her actual home. The only thing she had to really worry about were possible late assignments and just being forgotten. Well, that and the occasional teasing about her bright red hair. But it was honestly nothing she couldn't deal with on a daily. But even with being a grown adult now, she still felt entirely helpless, and like she had no control over her own life whatsoever. Especially with him there. She nearly jumped out of her skin at the sound of a twig snapping deep within the forest surrounding her, and she looked every which way around her in sheet-white terror. Nothing else moved, and she didn't either. She had heard from the internet that there were reports that all the animals that resided within the forest initially had moved out or migrated to another location. So, for whatever reason, there shouldn't have been any animal present in that forest with her. And it was also around a similar time when the split in the earth first appeared, and formed the infamous Gaping Gulch. It all happened when she was a child, too. She had laughed at the catastrophic event like it was the funniest joke she'd ever heard. She did miss the birds, though, especially her little crow friend she named Fable. But if one thing was for certain, either she was being paranoid, which was a definite possibility, or there actually was something out in that forest watching her from the shadows. She wouldn't have been surprised if it was the one she was supposed to be meeting there. God, why didn't she just block them? Sure, she was terrified of the retaliation she would have gotten, but weren't everyone in their life? And the one time she gets permission to leave that house, it's to meet up with the other extreme. Why was it so cold out there? There was absolutely no wind. She should probably just leave. Yeah, they weren't very punctual with time anyway. It wasn't 11:11 p.m. yet. Oh, Sandra! Oh God, no.